Casey Dellacqua, thank you very much for joining us today on the Sit Down podcast, and welcome to Pod Laver Arena.
Yeah, it's my first time in real life in the pod, so it's great. And yeah, it's great to be with two people who I've known in tennis for a very, very long time. So it's nice to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you, and hopefully we do get to go back a little bit on that journey. We have known you for a very long time, and your career has been a great story over the years to tell. So I guess, we'd like to probably go back to the beginning. We like to ask our guests how they got into tennis, or like who introduced you to the sport.
Yeah, well, my mum and my nan both played tennis at my local club, Kingsley Tennis Club. Bit of a shout out to them over in WA. And my nan's the left-hander of the family, so she claims she passed all her talent onto me. But yeah, my mum and her sisters, and that's my mum's side of the family, all were pretty engaged in tennis. And I like to go to the footy with my dad and that, but I definitely also gravitated towards tennis at a very young age. I started when I was about 7 or 8. And then, I think one thing that, I really found with tennis and playing, at a club where all my friends and that were that I just fell in love with the game. I just had this complete passion for wanting to spend my weekends or after school down at the tennis club. And I definitely feel that love that I grew at a young age for the sport helped me have longevity in the sport, because I just loved the game. And so I always try, when people, parents ask now, how did you get into tennis and what should my kid be doing at 11 or 12? I'm just like, love the game. Learn to love the game and you will kind of find your feet and find your way. But I definitely think at a very young age, I had this love for wanting to be down at my local tennis club, wanting to connect with my peers that played tennis as well, and then just loving the challenge of the game as well.
It's a very difficult game. Like, what was it about it that you loved? Is it like just the act of hitting the ball?
Yeah, it was just, I think the whole combative thing with tennis was something that I loved from a young age. And I did play a lot of team sports, whether that be netball, t-ball, basketball. But I think the one-on-one challenge I really enjoyed, the problem solving. And I think that's why I enjoyed playing doubles down the track, because that whole tactical point of view that you have to use in doubles and communication with your partner was something that I really loved. So, yeah, I think just, the skill it's definitely a hard sport to learn. Like, I've got 3 young kids myself now, and, you can see that it's much more of a skillful sport to pick up than, say, I'm not saying other sports aren't skillful, but obviously everyone can kick a soccer ball and that, but tennis, there's a lot of technique and that to it. But at a young age, I just loved the challenge of competing, I'll be honest. I loved the competitive side, and throughout my career, it was probably something that I always loved. I know it probably used to do my coach's head in, but I didn't love the practice court as much as I loved the match court. I loved competing. Whether it was singles, doubles or mixed, I entered every event because I wanted to compete. So, yeah, probably a bit of all of that.
When did you realise that you had a chance to become a professional player?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think everyone feels like you have to specialise so young in tennis, and that was something that I definitely did not do. So I was probably a bit of a later bloomer, in a sense that it probably wasn't until I was about 15 that I got an opportunity to get a full scholarship to the Australian Institute of Sport back in the day. And it was a big risk for a girl from Perth to kind of pack up and leave all of that behind and think, what am I leaving for? Am I going to make it as a tennis player? I didn't end up finishing year 12. So kind of did throw all my eggs in one basket. But yeah, it was probably about 15 that I kind of gave up on my other sports. And I am very grateful for that, because you do see across the board now a lot of those, multi-sport athletes that, whether it be Ash or a lot of our, high-level players have played a lot of different sports growing up. And I do think that that's very important for all of our young tennis players to make sure they're playing a variety of things. And then there comes a point, of course, where you need to specialise a bit, but I don't encourage that at too young of age.
I don't want to bring up a bad stat, but there's a point to me bringing it up. So, because you had great success on the pro tour.
Are you going to say I lost 7 Grand Slam doubles finals? And
No,
I'm the biggest,
no, it wasn't that. It was when you started playing Grand Slams and you lost your first 10 matches in first rounds or in qualifying. But then it seemed that something changed, because you qualified at Wimbledon in 2007, and that was the first time you'd won a match at Grand Slam level. And from there, you were completely different. So you qualified at Wimbledon, and then you won just a couple of months later your first round match at the US Open in the main draw. So I really wanted to know, and then obviously what happened which we'll talk about, AO 2008. What changed in the back half of 2007 that clearly unlocked something?
Yeah, I think just belief in myself. And it was a real mindset shift to, just an absolute inner self-belief. It's very different to walk out on a court and tell yourself you can win, but then to actually sit in a lot of the thoughts and feelings and actually believe you can do it, I think was just probably the biggest shift. And I think obviously in Australia, there was a lot of opportunities for me to get wildcards. And I think they're great because they expose you to, I got to play at the Australian Open, even though I had lost. So I got all of that exposure. But there's nothing like qualifying for a slam off your own back and from the hard work and that you've done. So definitely, obviously at Wimbledon, I loved playing on grass. It was like I had my room painted, green and purple as a kid because I had this like full dream of just wanting to play at Wimbledon. So when I qualified there, it definitely shifted my whole perspective on everything I'd been through and what I wanted to achieve in the sport from then on in. So yeah, that's probably, I guess, in a nutshell, what really shifted.
That makes a lot of sense. And even that match, I mean, you lost to Sharapova at the US Open, but like playing, I remember that match actually, night match, Arthur Ashe. That must have been the biggest match of your career at that point.
It was, yeah.
Like how much of an eye-opener was that about like what it took to achieve at the highest level and being on that stage?
Yeah, it taught me a lot. And I think I lost 6-love, 6-1. So it wasn't, it was a bad loss in terms of the scoreline. But I think those type of matches you have to, well, in tennis, I truly believe you have to learn. You learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. And that was a real match for me that I learned a lot from. I was on a big court. I was getting, I was playing a big hitter, someone that played super aggressive. I was getting pushed back off the baseline on Arthur Ashe. It's such a big court. There's so much space around the court that I found myself like 10 metres behind the baseline many times just purely because of the size of the court. So I kept telling, from then on in when I played on, big courts, Pod Laver Arena and that, to stay on the baseline, play my game style. So you do learn a lot from those type of matches. But I do remember that match as well. My mum and my nan were in the crowd. And I can tell you now there was no better feeling than walking off after that match and having a hug from them. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I've lost on Arthur Ashe against Sharapova, night session, prime time in America, and all I wanted to do was get a hug from my mum and nan, and thank God they were there because they kind of reminded me who I was and that it was okay, and there's always another match around the corner.
Yeah, your first main draw win at the Australian Open, 8-6 in the third set over Karen Knapp. How much of a milestone was that?
It was huge. I think particularly at your home slam, I really had I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I know a lot of the other Australian tennis players did the same, to want to play well in Australia. It naturally, when you're at your home slam, you know the crowd is always behind you, but it's also, a double-edged sword where there's that expectation, and there's no more expectation than I used to put on myself. But I think getting that win in difficult conditions, I guess, just propelled again that confidence that, I've got to win home soil, and it just, I guess, made me believe even more that, and then the crowd get behind you even more, and they're going to show up for the next match, and things just start to get exciting, and you're like, I want more of this, and that's what I guess I did.
And then you also beat Patty Schneider 8-6 in the third set, and she was the 15th seed. How big was that?
Yeah, that was massive, and I'll never forget the feeling of being out on John Cain Arena. I don't know if it was called John Cain back then, but another lefty, someone that I'd actually looked up to quite a lot throughout my own career, and I guess that 8-6 in the third as well. Again, just
two 8-6s
in the third. That's
pretty dramatic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you just got to get through those matches, and sometimes getting through those matches actually give you more confidence in that than winning straight sets in that. So I was just very much on a high. I was just using every bit of energy from the crowd, walking around. I just remember but people started to say, oh, that's Casey. And, I just kept thinking, oh, this is so cool. This is, again, everything I dreamed of, whether it be playing at Wimbledon or at the Australian Open in my home slam. It was just, I don't know, everything was just coming together. And when you put so much hard work in and then all your dreams kind of start to come to fruition, there's no better feeling.
Well, I think we have a clip of what happened next, because by beating Patty Schneider, you set up a match against Amelie Mauresmo, who'd won the tournament 2 years earlier.
When the stakes have been high a couple of times. And it's not getting any easier now.
How much do you remember this case?
Not much,
Okay.
because I was so young. And I think after this tournament, I started to remember a lot more.
Have you watched this before?
I have, but it's very few and far between
This is the sound of 15,000
when I do
people
get the opportunity
breathing
to
and
reflect
holding
and sit down and watch. But you can hear the crowd and how epic they are. I think my mum and my nan will be shown about now or after. But yeah, you can hear the crowd even when she serves a fault. They're just like, the roof was closed, 15,000 people, and I was like, come on, Casey. Don't miss this
The roof is
return.
closed at
Go
Pod
for
Laver
good depth,
Arena.
but you don't
Better
need to
get
hit a
ready.
clean winner.
It might be about to lift off.
Very aggressive.
Yeah. And again, up on the baseline, that heavy loopier forehand. And this one I was...
Yes, that's right. It landed.
Yes.
It fell in.
As soon as she went to the slice backhand, oh, there's my mum and nan. How cute. As soon as she hit that slice backhand, I was like, I'm taking this ball early. I am coming forward, and whatever happens is going to happen.
Yeah, you did exactly what you set out to do.
Yeah, that's it.
Dellacqua is in the round of 16.
Oh, it's so amazing. So yeah, another win at the AO after what you'd done. You were through to the second week, the fourth round. Then interesting. That, it's a bit sketchy maybe, but
Yeah.
watching that, like, what do you remember? Just because that was like taking it to another level. She's a Grand Slam champion. That's Rod Laver, not John Cain.
Yeah. And
That was
had
huge.
won the tournament previously. And I don't think anyone expected me to win. I think everyone at that point, even my coach was like, well, whatever happens, happens. And I was like, deep inside, I was like, no, I can win. Like, I knew I could win that match. And it's not very often that you always had that type of self-belief or confidence that you were like, well, it didn't matter who was doubting you, like, no, I'm going to go and win this one. And that was definitely one of those matches. But when I say it's a bit of a blur, I think it's because it was definitely the first breakthrough tournament for me at a bigger scale. And so I was just so in the moment and so present doing that as my career went on, I probably remember more moments, a bit older, taking it all in, appreciating the good and the bad times. That was just a very thrown out there, just being in the present and whatever happens. And you don't get that feeling very much in life. I probably compare it a bit to I'm trying to think where you get that adrenaline where you're just like so oblivious, like, I don't know, maybe giving childbirth, I don't know, or something like that. But like just that moment where you're just like in this different world. But yeah, it was pretty special, and it definitely flipped my career on its head for sure.
So I guess 2009 and 10 were both kind of injury marred for you. It was shoulder and foot?
Yeah,
Is that
a
right?
couple of surgeries,
Yeah.
shoulder and foot, yeah.
Oof. And so I guess, that made coming back in 2011 and winning the French Open mixed doubles.
Even
that must
sweeter.
that must have felt really good.
Yeah, it did. And I had the shoulder surgery, and luckily, I could still use my legs and stuff. So I ran a lot. I did heaps of cross training and that. And then with all of that, I got some foot problems. So then I had some foot surgery, and I didn't want to come back until I knew that I was in tip top shape physically and mentally and emotionally and all of that. When I was out injured, I also did things that I've never done before. I went to beauty school and I did my
that's right.
Yeah, I did my certificate 3 in beauty therapy, and it was a bit of a running joke that with my other fellow Aussie tennis players that I'd open a Delhi's Day Spa on tour. So but I did that. I made a new bunch of friends through beauty school that were awesome to hang out with. And I kind of just found myself a little bit again as Casey away from the court and established life in Sydney. And I went out, I went out and had a few parties and did things that perhaps I had missed out on a little bit. And then when I came back, I was ready to go again. And little did I know I'd win my first major at the, French Open in the mixed in 2011 as quickly as I did. But, it was so rewarding. And I think the whole, just coming back, playing with Scott Lipsky, who, had been grinding away for a long time. We didn't really know each other. We won so many close matches, and it was just like one of those tournaments that I don't even know how we won it, but it was just teamwork. It was communication. It was good energy on the court, a few lucky points here and there, but just putting yourself out there. And then, to win it was like still obviously a highlight of my career.
And then just a couple of years after that, your partnership with Ash Barty began in 2013. You made 3 Grand Slam finals that year. Tell us about what made you such great friends and playing partners.
Yeah, I am so grateful for my friendship with Ash, and I know it's mutual in a sense that what we were able to provide each other on tour was exactly what we both needed, and that was, having trust in someone on tour, honesty, loyalty, and we stuck together and we were just good. We are just good friends, and I think that translated onto the court in the way that we played our doubles as well. So I think we bonded over having very similar, values and morals and how we like to go about things. And and then we, complemented each other on the doubles court, lefty-righty combo. We both, just like talking tactics. I mean, there was not really, when I met Ash when she was young, I was like, this girl, I mean, her tennis brain is extraordinary. So, I think it was something that I really cherish, my friendship with Ash, and the time that we got to spend on and off the court, the challenges, we lost 3 Grand Slam finals that year, but we always looked at the positives, like, we're an Aussie pair and we've just made 3 Grand Slam doubles finals, and she was so young. So, it was a pretty special year, 2013, and to do that with Ash by my side was pretty cool.
Did you kind of feel like Ash's big sister at times?
I did. There's obviously like a bit of a gap between us, so but she's very mature and perhaps I'm quite immature. I don't know. But I think we just we had this real sisterhood, and that is something that is very hard to find often in tennis. I mean, we have a very great, culture amongst us Aussie women tennis players in general. So I think I knew I had, whether it be Stubbsy or Alicia or Sam or Praddy, like we always had each other. And then, I had Ash come along and I was like, let's go, mate. We're going to be buddies too. And it was nice. It was nice to have someone also just to chat about footy or I don't know what you're going to have for dinner, or, maybe if I'm just having a bad day, can you come over and let's, just have a laugh. So that stuff was awesome. But it wasn't ever like organised either. It was just like we're friends, and however I felt I was helping Ash was purely just from a very natural and organic way of when you meet someone and you connect. And she did a lot for me too. She helped me through some of my, tough times on tour, and I got youthfulness and I got a lot of perspective from Ash as well in my own personal and career as well. So I think it was a match made in heaven in that sense.
And then I think what followed on from there, like your great doubles year in 2013 with Ash, in 2014 you had your best year on the singles court. So you were talking about 08 before and you were playing some of your best tennis. 2014 in a lot of ways was even better. You got back to the 4th round of the AO. You also did that at the US Open. You made the quarters of Indian Wells, which is a huge tournament. You peaked at world number 26. So was that kind of on the singles court, and personally, do you feel that was your kind of career peak maybe that year?
Yeah, it was. And I don't really ever feel like I get to talk a lot about my singles career.
You're very famous for your doubles.
Yeah, which is really nice that you brought it up. No, but I did. I had a great year in singles, and there's no doubt that, playing all of that, having that double success and just building and building, coming back from a couple of years out with injuries, I felt like it was coming. But to be back in the 4th round at the Australian Open and then to carry on that form through the rest of the year, I played some incredible tennis at the US Open. I remember playing a match against Pliskova on one of the back courts and court 17, and it was hot and humid, and I just played tough matches. And a big credit to my coach at the time, Stinger, who I felt like we just, formed this, team where I just knew that he was going to be able to get the best out of me. And I knew that by the way that he coached, in a sense. When he met me, there was this real emphasis on connecting and us building that trust within our, coach-player relationship. And I really respected that. And he did a lot of sessions with me on court. He grinded with me. He did all my fitness sessions with me. And I just felt like he was there by my side along for the ride. And I think that really helped me through, play some of the best singles I've ever played in my life, which, was incredible.
2015 was I guess, your last year of singles. So you had another great doubles year, made 2 more doubles finals, but this time it was with Shvedova.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the year, you got the concussion in Beijing, and I don't think you really ever played singles again after that. So in terms of like that point in your career and the direction it went in after that, how do you reflect on that now? That was 10 years ago.
I know, crazy that it was 10 years ago. Hey, yeah. Look, I feel like I definitely feel a bit sad about that time where I definitely did not think my singles career was over by any means, and the concussion, happened very unexpectedly. I was running back for a ball, tripped over my feet. Unfortunately, couldn't get my hands down and hit my head. And I just remember thinking at the time, a week off tennis and I'll be right. Like I had WTA finals around the corner because Yaroslava Shvedova and I had made finals that year. And I thought, yeah, just a week, I'll be all right. But then my post-concussion symptoms and that were just awful. And I just remember thinking, how am I going to get up, like get out of this dark room? That was the only place I felt like I wanted to be in. I just felt lost. I felt disorientated. I had headaches. So, yeah, it kind of really threw me. I missed finals that year with Yaroslava after having such a great year. And, yeah, you just kind of don't really – I didn't think that was around the corner. And of all tennis injuries, a concussion, like it's not something that, happens all the time. So, yeah, look, it was disappointing and, disappointing way to end my singles career. Did I think that I was even going to come back and do anything after that? No. My partner, we had our second child in April the following year, and I thought, maybe life now's, really family, 2 kids, and, I love the game, I'll find something, but I wasn't sure where I was kind of headed from then on in.
Well, a couple of years after that, in 2018, you ended your career with a win in doubles, again alongside Ash in Fed Cup. How important was it, or how nice was it to finish on that high note?
Yeah, that was, good. Back to happier times,
Yeah,
I think.
It did take a nice turn.
It did
after
take
that.
a nice turn. And it took a turn for the best because the stars aligned and Ash reached out to me. Well, Ash and I always talked, but we had that conversation about, hey, mate, how you going? She's like, how you going? I'm like, look, I've struggled a bit with my concussion. She was thinking about coming back and I was like, come down to Sydney. Let's just have a bit of a hit. And then, we were like, should we play a bit of doubles? And I was like, yeah, look, I think I can do a bit of doubles. And, she was coming back. So we got a car, went to Port Pirie, played a challenger there, just started to get our feet back on the tennis court together. And then, obviously she went on to do incredible things in singles. And I was like, finished in the world's top 10 again in the world for doubles, playing in Canberra. It was Feb 11 on my birthday. Wearing the green and gold and having Ash beside me, Alicia Molik, as captain. It just felt fitting. I didn't let, the public know or anyone know that I was retiring or it would be my last match. But those that were closest to me were there. My parents, Stinger, all the people that had big influence over my career were there. And, we won and it was 2-2 and we won the final rubber in doubles. Think Dasha lost maybe both her singles and put us in that position, but it's okay. And we won and, it was awesome. And it was like such a fitting place for me to be, having left Perth as a 15-year-old to go to Canberra. AIS days.
That's a very full circle.
Yeah, so it just felt like the timing, it was all right. And that was the end of the career. But I am so grateful for, the career I had and, as I said, the longevity with the ebbs and flows in it. All the tough times always, obviously, of course, define who you are. They define, your failures, I feel like, define you more than your successes a lot of the time too. So, it was done. It was over.
But as you said, I love it, like a fitting note to finish on. And also just like you had such a great career representing Australia. You were such a stalwart of the Fed Cup team. You played for so many years. You played at 2 Olympics. And it seemed that was such an important part of your career representing Australia. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it was everything. I loved playing for Australia. As a little girl, all I had dreams of was going to the Olympic Games. I actually didn't care what sport it was. Probably like a lot of us, inspired by the Sydney 2000 Games, and I was 15, and I just remember thinking, I'm going to go to the Olympics one day, no matter how I do it. So that was definitely something that I was really proud of. And then, wearing the green and gold at, Billie Jean King Cup were some of the absolute best times of my life. I'll never forget playing in Korea, and I had the opportunity at the time, Alicia Molik and I were actually put in a playoff to get the final spot in the team, and I won. So Mol won't mind me saying that. But I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I've now got this opportunity. I'm in part of the team. I'd been the orange girl, and I'm part of the team. I got to play, and I remember losing my first match, and it was terrible because that pressure that you put on yourself when you put on the green and gold's amplified. But then we won we won the tie, and, I went out after with Praddy, Stubbsy, Sam, Alicia and myself, and I just remember thinking, this is the best. Like, I was out with, these older, they're not much older than me, but they were, elder statesmen in terms of being in that team. I was part of it. I felt like I belonged, and they then became some of my best mates and are still some of my best mates for life. So, the Billie Jean King Cup memories will stand out for me forever. Yeah.
How do you look back on the camaraderie and I guess the quality of the women that you just mentioned? Praddy, Jelena Dokic was in the team then, Alicia, Sam, then later Ash.
It's a pretty good collection. And you as well.
Yeah.
Like, you're all, like, Grand Slam success, top rankings. Like, it's a great generation.
It is, and it was just we felt always really privileged. Like, I could tell you now, if I was in a place in a dark alley and I was stuck, I knew I could call on Stubbsy for sure. Or I could call on Alicia, and they'd be there in a minute to help me. And then, it just, I mean, I could tell stories forever, but I remember being at the Beijing Olympics, my first Olympic Games, and I got in a room. I was sharing with Renee Stubbs, and Alicia Molik and Sam were in the other room, and I was out of the tournament, but Sam and Renee were still playing in the event, and I had finished, and I thought, I'm just going to go out to a couple of parties that were, like, I was done, so I was like, I'm going to go enjoy the whole Olympic experience. Came home a little bit later and thought, instead of going into the room and waking Renee up, I'm just going to sleep on the couch. And then in the morning, she came out and she was so angry, and I thought, oh no, like, I've woken her up. I'm going to be like, I've ruined her whole pre-match game plan and that. She was like, I was worried about you all night. How come you didn't come and, like, wake me up? And I was like, oh gosh, that's actually so nice, because I just thought that's what, like, we mean to each other. She was more concerned that, I hadn't got home safely.
Yeah.
And I think that's something those are the type of things that, build beautiful relationships, strong connections. And we knew that we've got each other's back. And to this day, like, I know I could still call her and she'd be there. So, look, things like that happen very regularly. So very, very grateful for all my mates on tour.
That's so good. I love that. I was trying to do you a favour.
I was trying to do the right thing. I was honestly trying to be a good girl, and she was just had a good heart. She was looking out for me.
That's really special.
How easy or comfortable did you find the transition to not playing, like being a post-career athlete?
Yeah, I actually really struggled post-tennis. I retired, and then obviously COVID hit. Like, when I say I struggled, I fell pregnant with our third child in not long after I retired. So that obviously, took a big part of my life, where I knew I wanted, to carry and have our third baby and all of that. So I was very immersed in family life. But I think away from that, you always need a purpose outside of all of that. And that was probably the part that when I say I struggled, I did struggle with a fair bit. Just, finding what it was that I wanted to do after I finished. And I remember Wally Masua telling me that he said, it'll probably take you about 3 years post-retirement where you'll feel like you've kind of disassociated yourself from that playing mindset or that. And I reckon he was probably spot on. It took me a fair few years to just feel quite distant from the playing group, that, I wasn't waking up every day thinking about going to training, and when it's been such a big part of your life. And then, so I definitely battled, and then COVID hit, of course. The world shut down and there wasn't very many opportunities around. So, I had very great support. I had my family, and that was awesome. But I think the career side was challenging.
Was it always in your mind that you would stay connected to tennis?
Yes, absolutely. I think tennis for me, as I mentioned, has been my love, my first love, my first passion. I've lived and breathed it from, waking up in the middle of the night knowing, Wimbledon was going to be on, or it didn't matter. My world was kind of like tennis. So I can't imagine tennis never being a part of my life. And yeah, I'm just so grateful now that, I found opportunities in a life where I get to still work in tennis and do what I love. And yeah, so I never thought that I wouldn't be in tennis ever.
It's specifically a role. Well, this is maybe you can tell us a little bit more about why you're here. Down here in Melbourne, you work in the women and girls space. You're the women and girls lead at Tennis New South Wales. So why did you specifically move into that space, and what does that role involve?
Yeah, so I when I just coming out of COVID, the CEO at Tennis New South Wales at the time, Lawrence Robinson, he reached out and said, "Did you want to do a couple of days work?" And I was like, "Yeah, sounds great. Doing what?" And he's like, "I'd love you to be involved in our women and girls space." And I said, "Sure." And he got me like a work computer, and I was like, what do I even do with this? I was like, I did not even know.
With the racket.
Yeah. I was like, I do not even know what to do with this computer. And I'm like, how do I send an email? I had no idea. Having just been a player, you just don't, I know it sounds silly, but you don't realise how the world sometimes also operates. I know that sounds silly, but that's just
Well, you have other people to take care of that for you, I guess,
Yeah.
all that administrative stuff.
Yeah, and I loved booking my own flights and that, but this was like a job. This was like a job where you go and you sit down and you have to, do things and work differently to just playing sport, which I loved. And I didn't know how to write an email properly. I was like, "Oh, hey mate, do you want to do the?" And I was like,
I wouldn't mind getting a hey mate.
yeah, I was just kind of I was trying to find my feet. So I did that 2 days a week with Lawrence up in New South Wales. And then I slowly realised I really love this. I really love having an influence and impact in a different way. And then fortunately, my role has grown in that space. And now nationally we have a thriving, women and girls, a lot of our programs. And I get to, having been at the forefront of developing the women and girls strategy from a strategic point of view, but then now being on the ground and implementing all the great programs that we have and seeing the smiles on the young girls' faces as they finish their leadership courses, or our women leaders in tennis, presenting at different things, and our volunteers, working with our volunteers that are at the crux of our sport. Yeah, I just love it. I'm so lucky, and I find it. I definitely feel like I've, found a part of tennis that is different, but I absolutely love.
Moving away from tennis for a little bit, what are your passions now outside tennis?
What do I do now outside of tennis? Well, I love being a mum. I love being a mum. It's probably one of it's the best job in the world, and definitely raising, 3 kids is one of my life's greatest achievements. I don't know if I'm often winging it, and not sure if I'm doing the best job, but I try. And, they don't know, they just know me as mum, of course. I think they're starting to realise, what I used to do and play tennis and what I do for a job now. But yeah, definitely that takes up a lot of my time. I obviously like working also just within the broadcast space, working in tennis from that point of view. But then outside of that, I play OzTag on a Wednesday night just to keep,
Is that like touch footy?
Yeah, it's like touch, or it's like rugby league, but with tags.
Such Victorians.
I know,
Yeah,
you're
you
like,
are
"What's
very
that?"
Victorian. Yeah. It's a very
Oh,
New South Wales, Queensland thing.
Okay.
So, I play a bit of OzTag. I like to kind of go to the gym and stay active, go for lots of walks, take my kids to, OzTag on a Wednesday night so they see that mum, still gets out and has a good time and stuff. And then, just, found my feet in life with, some school mums and, just everyday life. And then I still get the opportunity to come to the Australian Open and do kind of really cool stuff that I think, I've worked hard for, but I get so many cool opportunities to do great work in tennis. So I think I'm really fortunate.
Just to finish, what is the biggest lesson that tennis has taught you?
Tennis has taught me that I think way more capable of things than I ever thought I possibly was, because tennis has pushed me to the brink. It has put me in places that, haven't been great, but it's also given me, the highest of highs and that adrenaline that I don't know if you can replicate in, many other situations in life. So I think it's just taught me that, to kind of, I'm more resilient than, I think I am. And it's taught me passion, though. It's taught me I found something in life that, if you can find something in life that you're passionate about, whether that's, your job or whatever it might be, I definitely found my passion in tennis. So it's taught me a lot and made me and shaped me to be the, the person I am today.